my MO is like, make the video, have the funny, goofy idea, write the ad, ship it. Now with feedback, it's like, that was a huge mistake. Never do that again. You and I need to be above the clouds, because if we stop driving product or we stop making video, then like everything else crumbles. Every time we get into looking at a potential hire and getting into the pros and cons and the weeds of their work, and ooh, like I like this thing, but I kind of don't like this thing they did. Like anytime you get in that midwit, it does not work.
Welcome to the Smart Nonsense Podcast, where we talk about entrepreneurship.
Hello.
Fucked up that intro. Where we
Entrepreneurship, self-development, challenging norms, baby. And there's two of us. So that's the beautiful thing when you got two people. When you got a co-founder, one person, they could stutter, they could blow their brains out, they could have a psychosis, but when you got a co-founder, they'll pick you right back up. Finish your sentences.
I hope to God. Here's one concern that's been on my mind, dude.
Oh no. Oh no.
And I don't like to think about things in the future because I live in the present, but sometimes I gotta live in the future. I'm my brother's best man. We all know this.
Yes.
We all know this, as in no one knows this, but probably you. And that means in 3 months I got to give a speech at his wedding. And I've never been to a wedding, don't know how they work, but I'm stressing out really hard. And because I don't really
never
know my
been to a
brother.
wedding, right? Never been to a wedding. Not really a tight knit family, man.
Not a single story about him.
Doesn't have a story. Some might call you the worst man. The worst
Right.
man. He's
and also I get the yips really bad in public speaking, as you could tell by the intro. And this is just me talking to a camera screen. So
I could send you the speech I did at my brother's wedding. You could try and recycle some of the stories.
Oh yeah, yeah. See if they apply.
Take some of the roasts.
I knew it.
Super specific roasts.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, you should send me that. I'm curious. I wish there was a good way for me to practice, but really there's no like public speaking in my life. Because I'm
No.
actually a good public speaker when I'm not nervous, but if I'm nervous, dude.
I actually remember, so at my brother's wedding, because I was really nervous, and there were a couple speeches before me, I was just pounding shots. I was like, I need to get all of this alcohol in my body ASAP. And then I brought the roof down. I killed it. I killed it is what I'm trying to say.
I like how those analogies work, dude.
Yeah.
The roof came down and killed everybody. No, the one time I had something like this, I think it was in college. I went to this hockey tournament with my dad, and it was like a father-son thing, and like every new inductee has to give a speech in front of everybody. And so it was like me and like 2 or 3 other guys, and they were, I don't know, I was like 20 or something, and they were like 26. So I was a little nervous. Like, I don't know how this works. And it's like, hockey's kind of just like, you just roast everybody. So it's like pretty high pressure, and it's a bus of like 40 old dudes. They get up, give like some national anthem sort of thing. Like, I didn't know what we were supposed to prepare. I thought it was just a good story, and I didn't know how to tell a story. Still don't, apparently. But basically, I just had like a long, rambly story about me failing to kiss a girl in New York. And then everyone, it was like 5 minutes long, way too long, like 5 times longer than everyone else's. They booed me off stage and just roasted me the whole time. So my ego was pretty low. My dad felt ashamed. They were like roasting my dad because I was his offspring. So it was pretty bad, dude. I just, I have those fears bubble up, but then I got an A in my public speaking class in college.
You gotta push those fears right back down, Pop.
Dude, I don't know what I gotta do.
Can't
That's
be
not why
living
we're
in the
here, though,
past.
dude.
It's not. It's not. Some might ask, why are we here at all? Myself included. Did these get posted?
No, dude. No, let's date this, though. August 15th, 2023.
The most infinite game. Just doing this for ourselves.
Right. I'm like postponing writing the thing where we don't have emails to go out this week for Smart Nonsense. But
no, I think we're going to miss
pod
tomorrow, too. No one edited the email. No one illustrated the email.
Well, Louise is probably doing it currently, right?
No, she said she's sick. Team's dying, man. Everyone's burnt out.
Oh, this is going to be our first time without an email, huh?
I think we're going to miss our first day in about 25 days. It was a good streak, though.
We might figure it out.
You're
But
illustrating?
well, um, dude, imagine, dude. Any real OGs would know. It'd be like, dude, this is stick figure finances guy. How'd you hire him? No, this is really bad timing actually, because I had this really good idea for you. Hey, for anyone listening, we don't really have an agenda. We have like a bunch of different threads, and sometimes we just pick some. This thread I want to go with. I had this idea with you before the pod because yesterday I basically realized I think we know how to sell, but we're just out of practice, or like I I don't know what
Sell what?
happened. Well, sell people from our YouTube videos to okay. So here's my qualm. All right, we have very finite resources right now.
Dude, I have so many qualms.
I know you do.
Mostly, there are like 50 things we could and should be doing, and I can't do any of them because there are so many things we should.
But
be
here's
doing.
the thing: when you try to do one, you fucking blow it. So Belky's the only one making video content right now, which is sick. Like we want to promote video content. We can no longer like hyperlink stuff to our email, like smartnonsense.com, but that's fine. We don't have to like our shorts hack to promote our email isn't going to work. But we had this other hack, which is like, hey, let's just make an ad, which normally people do for sponsored videos in the middle of a long, which is like a 10-minute video. Let's just do that promoting Smart Nonsense. Now, this is a really intensive process. It'll often take like 3 animators a month to do. So high stakes, especially when we only have like 5 potential animators to use. So Belky does this, has a sick ad. I watched the like draft of it and I'm like, oh my God, this you made Ted, where it's like this animated character and you're chasing him around and it's fucking amazing. But then I go and I see like, okay, it's a multi-part story here. I see you post it. First couple days gets no views. But then I think you released the short or something. And the next time I check, it's at 150K. I don't know what it's at now, maybe 200.
Yeah, 150.
Right. So I go in and I look at it and I'm like, oh, let me see this ad in its like final polished version. But then I see it and it's just, dude, it's this scene of Belky just running around a room with our character Dirt, which no one knows. This is like probably the first time most people are seeing this character. Running around the room chasing him, he going, smart nonsense, smart nonsense, smart nonsense, which no one knows what that means. And there's no captions either, so you don't really know what he's saying. Basically a minute of like confusing interim video animation that points nowhere. No one has any idea what to do with that. And I look at like our smartnonsense.com conversions, and it's like the lowest it's ever been. It's like zero
65
conversions.
people. It's like
150,000 people watched this, and yeah, none of them went over to Smart Nonsense.
Every single thing you just said is true. What also happened? So here's what I think about that. Here's what I think about that. Total miss on my part, 100%. There's no hiding that.
I like you taking shots. Just shoot at the rim.
Right, so shooting at the rim. This is the kind of interesting thing about like just shipping stuff and iterating is like my MO is like just make the video, have the funny, goofy idea, write the ad, ship it. Now with feedback, it's like that was a huge mistake. Okay, never do that again. Right? So like what was that thing about was it Howard Hughes? He had some like person he was trying to fly an airplane and his mechanic like got him into a plane accident. And then
oh yeah, it was okay. So it was the gasoline.
Yeah.
He put like car gas into the airplane and it like almost killed him. And he's like the mechanic's like, I'm so sorry, like I understand you're gonna fire me. He's like, fire you? Why would I fire you? I just spent $100,000 rescuing myself and almost dying to teach you this lesson. I don't want to have to teach that to somebody else. Like now you know and you'll never make that mistake again.
That's right. That's kind of how I feel. So yeah.
It's sick if it's a short, but when it's a long that takes that many resources, like fuck, this is why people have processes of like multiple stages of review, which we haven't had to have because it's just rip on shorts, but or emails.
That's what happens when you get too in the weeds too. Like I'm so in the weeds with the piece of media, I forget like there's not a clear call to action. Like you don't zoom out and be like, you haven't told anyone where to go.
Right. My first thing was like, I see 150,000 views. Then I check our subscribers and we're still at like 9,000. And I'm like, how come this number didn't move with this number? And we figured it out. But
I'm your airplane mechanic though, dude. That's never gonna happen again, as far as I'm concerned.
that's awesome, dude. That's awesome.
We are about
you know
to
what's
hit
not gonna
10,000
happen?
subscribers on the email. That's fun.
Did we hit 10?
We're at 9,700.
Nice.
It's been 3 weeks.
Here's why I'm excited, dude.
Yeah.
I'm really excited because I mean, I don't know what we are, whether we're like creatives or business people or what. We're kind of like some weird in between where we want like a little bit of everything, but like don't want to be responsible for any one thing.
It's
we're
really confusing.
potentially about to be above the clouds. We're
yes,
not going to
dude.
be.
Yes. I wanted to talk about Ali Abdaal.
Yes. All right. So Ali Abdaal, he had this sick podcast with Colin and Samir. It's, I don't know, an hour or two long, just chock full of goodies. A lot of confirmation bias of like we've run into similar problems. Then we see like, I don't know. We kind
I'm
of know
not
that
convinced there's
scenes,
anything wrong with confirmation bias. I'm
It's
actually
sick.
not convinced. Confirmation bias is the best.
it's a reason why
It just
rips.
makes you feel warm and tingly inside.
Well, you know what happened? The people that have messaged me about this podcast when they're like, do you still make these? Like, why the fuck aren't they going out? Those people are like, I like the podcast because I'm trying to do something entrepreneurial and I see all the difficulties you're having. And I resonate with that. Like no one speaks about the hardships, especially when you're in the trenches, like actively, like we're going to go bankrupt this week. No one has a podcast about that. And so people really like that. Granted, you know, they're going to get this 6 months later version, but
if ever.
But this was a good example of that. So Ollie, this one problem was where basically like he has this Jordan analogy of
Michael Jordan.
Michael Jordan. Is there another one?
Jordan
probably.
Belfort.
Okay. Thanks, dude.
List of 2.
Nice.
Easy list of 2. You want another?
It was quick enough where it counted as 3 in my mind. All right. So Michael Jordan, he kind of gives the analogy of like, Michael Jordan, what do you want him to do if you're the Bulls? Like, do you want him to be making money at the concession stand, like taking tickets and like whatever, like making sure everyone gets into the arena? Do you want him washing equipment? Or do you want him on the court scoring as many goddamn points as he can score? And that's all he focuses on. Versus an entrepreneur at the early days, it's kind of like you're at the door taking the tickets and like getting people their hot dogs and doing all this stuff. You're basically doing everything. But a real well-functioning company, everyone's specialized. He just stays on the court doing his magic, and like the business operates around that magic that he's creating. So Ollie had the problem of like he was doing the business weeds. We're in the business weeds, and we try and do like the best of both worlds of like designing a company that can run without us, but then it's just a shitty company. And like we're finally realizing like the second we get out and just like relinquish almost full control to someone that can just focus entirely on that, so their version of being on the court, it's a 10 times better company.
Right, and Ali got this from some book about general managers, and the principle or the idea was basically like you need your either the face of the thing or the talent or whatever to be above the clouds. And so that's your Michael Jordan. Or for a long time it was you, like you were kind of Chief Keef. What was your position? Chairman?
Dude, I was high
Chairman Mao? Something, right? But my job was to like keep you above the clouds so that you could just think about like big picture stuff and like incentive structures and pricing structures. Because as soon as your talent comes below the clouds and starts working in like the day-to-day and the nitty-gritty and like customer service and satisfaction, like something's failing. And it's so true. Like, because then I started to kind of get above the clouds when we appointed Nico to operate the thing. And now every time I dip below the clouds, I'm just like, oh my God, like I can't write, I can't review content, I can't, so it's like that really resonated with me.
Well, what's cool now is kind of the way our pipeline has worked is like I came in at the start and I was below the clouds, and then I kind of like got above, and then you're below, and now you're above, Nico's below. But now we're gonna replace you in theory and have your brother potentially, if things work out, come in and he's above the clouds, but just focus on like business above the clouds, so he can see the big picture. Like, be like, hey, this is how we build a $10 million company.
Yes, because like, and the reason being, like, you and I need to be above the clouds because if we stop driving product or we stop making video, right, then like everything else crumbles. And that was kind of Ali's point, is like he just needs to be focused on like writing and creating videos. Otherwise, nothing else exists. And this reminded me of Paul Graham's blog poster idea, which was called like your top idea or
Mm,
something. Basically, like his point was like, what's the you can only have one top idea, and it's the thing you're thinking about like in the shower. Um and right, so you can only have that idea,
the top idea in your mind.
the top idea in your mind. And so for like a you or a me, that top idea needs to be product. It needs to be video, it needs to be writing or comedy or newsletter. Like it needs to be the creative stuff. Anytime that top idea or your shower thoughts becomes like an an accounting problem or a client problem or some editor right? Like anytime you're top of mind or top idea, whatever. Um, anytime, dude, fucking, there are so many threads in my head. It's crazy. But
So
anytime your top idea becomes below the clouds, like you're in a lot of trouble. And I had that for a long time where I was just thinking about like day to day stuff right in front of your face.
well, yeah, right. And then I'd have these brain blasts at 3 a.m. where I just send 250 messages straight. Belky wakes up to it and just like reacts. And I'm just like, it's deflating because I'm like, oh, I was just fucking amped, but Belky's got to worry about like making sure we hit payroll. And so he's just like stoked. So it'd be nice to be above the clouds with somebody, which we're starting to have. And then the cool thing with like, if this whole your brother thing works out, one, it's amazing because he'd just be a stud. Like he gets business and he'd be smart enough to figure it out, and we trust him. And like we can all have. I really like equal pie, so like we all share the exact same amount of incentives, basically. Because then I don't know. I think like the idea of finding the people that you like in life and just doing it with them, and then especially if you make the same amount of money, so you can do all the same things. I think that's really sick. But just the idea of like we build trust with Jack running Clipped, and then our next project, now that we can focus on something else, say it's selling merch or say it's selling a course or some, I don't know, whatever product we might sell in the future. Now Jack can sort of find his person to run Clipped and then build up the next big project that we have. So he can be like our business person. We're the face of the company that markets it, and then it all just is a sexy cycle that we keep going through. Like we talk about the Nelk Boys; they have their version of this, or like Mr. Beast has his own version with the Reed.
Oh, dude,
Sharing,
that was
whatever.
another thing. Ali Abdaal was saying that like I think it came from Mr. Beast, but his big thing was like creators try and sell, or they go off and start businesses or sell products, and then because it takes so much energy to do that, they end up neglecting their YouTube channel or the
Mm,
thing that got them there in the first place. And Mr. Beast's advice was like, keep the main thing the main thing. And I see this happening now with us, which is like, okay, we've kind of got like we clearly have a lot of threads, but we have a lot of different ways in which we can go. We chose to run with the newsletter, but now, right, we spent the last month like hiring illustrators for the newsletter and writing it, and the writing style is kind of different from our shorts. But I can see how, like, if you zoom out, like going down this newsletter avenue has caused us, in a sense, to neglect shorts and video content and
right.
animators, which is kind of like, I think if you're not mindful, you can get in a trap there when it's like, no, we're best in the world at video content, at animation. So
Right.
we have to be smart about like, how do we make sure we get back to the main thing
Yeah.
instead
Yeah,
of just ditching it?
I don't know on the timing. Like the timing is interesting. We probably could have done not doing smart nonsense right away and like getting Jack in place. Granted, we didn't know about Jack till like 2 weeks ago or a week ago, where he'd be interested in this. But like making enough money with clips and just shorts, and then hiring an operator there just to make more money, and then we can like go. We can have our own animation team. We can do this smart nonsense email thing. We kind of picked a different
Yeah, it
route,
was
but
a,
I don't think it's
right.
much worse.
It was a little premature in the sense that like Clipped isn't quite on the tracks completely yet. Like it's missing that kind of CEO person. That we just kind of have a lot of things going on. We're like
Right.
trying to launch 0 to 1 newsletter. We're also figuring out hiring there. We've had a huge hiring breakthrough, which informs hiring at Clipped. There's just like a lot of pieces, a lot of balls in the
And
air.
I'm like fucking burnt to a crisp right now because I just went through 1,000 emails and I'm like, oh my God, I never want to do this again. But like, we have to do it next week, or ideally this week, but I don't want to do it this week.
Right.
But that's where I think like the good thing about the email though is, and I said this to you earlier with creating an ad. I think we can just promote things a lot easier. And Ollie said this where it's like he barely promoted PTYA. Like he doesn't get much flack from his YouTube subscribers
That's his
for this.
course.
Right. Part-time YouTuber Academy, which is like $2,000 to $5,000 course. And the Yes Theory guys, who another big channel, they promoted their course that was like $300-400, and they got a shit ton of flack on YouTube. But he gets none because he promotes it in email, and people in email don't really care. They're used to that stuff, and like it's just more valuable to them.
That was interesting. It was like a demographic thing too, right? Like Ali Abdaal's audience is full of doctors, lawyers, like people who kind of want to get out of their good, stable jobs and make it on YouTube. So like paying $2,000 or $5,000 for a course made sense to that audience. To the Yes Theory audience, which is like scrappers and I don't know, I don't really know, but like
It's more like hippy dippy. It's like, hey,
it's
everyone's in it together. We're sharing, and we can be poor and like survive for 24 hours with no money, sort of crowd.
right. So they release a $400 course, and that demographic is like, whoa, like you guys are going to charge for this? What the heck? That's so anti Yes Theory. And that was kind of interesting. It gets into the idea of like content, uh, content market fit, I guess.
So I don't
Releasing the right
really.
product to the right audience.
We don't know what our audience is. Like, I think our shorts talk about entrepreneurship. At least I feel like there's a good balance, but I really don't know. Like, in theory, our audience is just us, but who knows if we actually promoted it on YouTube, what it'd look like. But at least what I want to try and email is saying how basically describing the story of like how we just had an insane amount, like 1,000 amazing illustrators apply. We spent $10,000 whittling it down to the top 10, and we only need one. So like, hey, if you need an illustrator for your website or your, I don't know, whatever infographics you want to make, like just sampling, selling to them. I'm excited about that and how we can do it basically tomorrow in email versus like anything with YouTube takes a week at least, like 2 weeks often. So I like that we can just try selling overnight.
That's where I'm like, that's just another ball in the air, which is like testing, selling clipped illustrators.
Right. But
Burnt
the reason
to a crisp, another ball in the air. I'm like, oh.
The reason why I like this ball is because right now we have no animators. Granted, I think we could hire them with just another hiring push, but like we already have a fuckload of illustrators, nothing to do with them. It could just be entirely profit for whatever we sell out of this, and then we can use that profit to bring in Jack, and then Jack can kind of like use our data from the experiment to go forward. But I don't know. It's a lot. But I really like where we're at right now. Where like Clip seems like it's in a decent place, and then we have just the epicenter for our own shorts, like the people who we think really thrive the most on our shorts, and then we have the epicenter of like the best of the best. Like we're like, oh, okay, dude. We didn't talk about this the last time. I found a thread. It came down and I just snagged it. Hiring. We kind of did like a debrief analysis on our hiring process because we get 1,000 applications. They all do like 2 different illustrations that took whatever, couple hours. And we went through and basically ranked like what are our top 10 and top 5 from every illustration we've ever seen. And then we compared that, like the initial test, to the final candidates that after doing like 40 hours of tests, who they were. Basically what we realized is like the people that wowed us at the start were exactly the people that we hired at the end. So granted, like our test was good,
So,
like in
yeah.
the first place. Clarify.
My bad, dude. I just got a little sidetracked. We're selling the van and it just hit its reserve, so I'm kind of stoked. But hey, dude, I heard you. So, yeah, I'm gonna have some money in the bank.
Nice.
It was this kind of interesting full circleness, right? Of like, we came into this hiring spree with this one metric was like, does somebody's work wow us? If it wows you and I, we're like kind of product guys. If it wows you and I, then they're going to be great forever. They're just going to be epic artists. Hire them. But then, where am I going? I'll find it. I'll find it. Then we got a little sussed out. We were like, well, are we just wowed by their portfolio? Like, we're kind of confused. How will that translate to the work they're actually going to do for us? So then it was like, give them the trial task. Am I just repeating everything you said? Maybe. Am I going to barrel through? Yes, sir.
Nice, dude.
So we give them, because I was distracted. But let me just make sure
dude. That's awesome.
Let me just make sure I heard you right. Let me just make sure I heard you right. So we give them the trial task. We see all these people doing the exact work they'd be doing for us. And then we kind of, dude, this is sick in my head.
You heard me so well, dude. This is awesome.
This is reminding me of Ali Abdaal. Whoa, dude.
Oh, with his post, dude? You pulling a thread from Twitter?
Wait. No, we're going to go there in a second. No, he said something similar.
Oh, man,
dude,
dude.
short circuit. Short circuit.
You want me to tag in? I don't know how to help you here.
Dude, meltdown. So wow is the metric. Wow never lies.
Wow, this is full circle.
Wow never lies. Here's the problem. I have like 7 threads in my head. Dude, I'm thinking about things I want to connect this to from Ali. Shut down. Dude.
Oh, you brought him right back.
Shut down.
You got anything about the band too? That thread was thrown out. No, really, it was just cool to see like our gut, our initial instinct was right. We tried to like be a little bit sluttier. And
That's
be like,
what I wanted to say.
On the fence. Okay.
That's what I wanted to say. We kind of first principles confirmed that our instinct and our gut is right. That was the full circle thing. I only went a half circle. That's my bad.
Right. No, you completed it though. What's awesome, and I knew that's what you wanted too. You were just spiraling, so I started to spiral with you, but I knew where you wanted to go because that's right where you ended before you tweaked. What's just interesting to see is when you tried this with our own team, being like, hey, you're the best animators or you're the best illustrators. Can you just tell us who you'd hire? For some reason, they struggle really hard. Like they get very into the Midwit meme of like analyzing all the pros and cons of each person. But then like we find at the end sort of an afterthought in their analysis because we asked them like who would they hire. They're like, well, this person was really good and it seems like I wouldn't have to redo their work to post it. I'm like,
Bazoingo.
That's the metric. It seems really good and you don't have to redo it. It's already like at our quality or better.
We can post it.
Right. So it's just like we realized, hey, this whole overanalysis Midwit thing no. It's like, do you wow us from the start? Yes, then we'll do like a couple things just to make sure you're consistently that level. But we nailed. Basically, we all voted for the 2 people.
Here's what's interesting about that. I used to think that was just like trivial. Like anybody could do that. Like they can just look at a portfolio and be like, wow, or not. Apparently, like that's some unfair advantage that you and I have.
I still don't understand it. Makes no sense to me.
I don't know. Thread? I don't know. But I think it comes from, and I don't know. I think people can have this skill in a lot of different industry, but like for you and I, it's just we've seen so much content. We know what goes into it. We have an eye for design. It's just like all these things that even
Right.
like you were saying, even our best teammates, they can't figure out this
Well,
gut instinct wow thing. And then I realized like, oh, maybe we do have something special in its taste, maybe.
and we're above the clouds.
Oh,
I
the
don't mean to
clouds. I'm
full
not
circle
above the
that, dude.
clouds, dude.
Maybe you just got good taste. But this is like,
Dude.
I've been seeing a lot, and you sent one of these to me where Paul Graham, mentioning him again, he talks about taste a lot, and I didn't. Again, we didn't realize taste was this big of a deal. But he's basically shitting on like houses, I think in Britain or America. Basically, everyone just like no one has good taste in architecture, so everyone just ends up like copying the person with bad taste. So everyone's just like iteratively worse taste in housing. Just all looks the same.
Additionally, he said there's this
Additionally,
paradox where people think I can just hire an architect who has good taste,
mm,
and then they will make me a beautiful house. Um, but it's like, what was his point? He was like, that's not enough, right? Because if you don't have good taste, like, I guess his point was like, you're signing off on like what the architect. Basically, taste gets fucked along the
right,
way,
right.
unless you yourself have good taste in that domain.
Well,
Same thing with
that's
cars.
the
He was saying same thing with American cars.
like the value of clipped, which I think right now is just animators, but it should be video editors, illustrators, any sort of creative like web design, anything like that, where taste is important. Like I think we get it because we actively use the role ourselves. Like we make our own shorts, so like it really sinks in what works and what doesn't. But this is why anyone that's just in a bureaucracy just wants to like pay a brand that knows like that has good taste, proven good taste, to just do it for them. And even like we talked to some friends, Valentine, who runs Studio, and which is like masterclass, but
Used to be
for
monthly.
creators.
Yeah, it was like masterclass, but you actually have a 30-day deliverable.
Right. So I don't know what exactly they are now, but basically like he
What's
wanted to
that?
work with us, and they were debating like hiring on Fiverr or hiring some just American like intern sort of person to edit videos. But like the reason why they don't want to do that, or people in
Mm.
general wouldn't, because they don't know what to look for, and they have money but not time. It's like just give me someone really good immediately. And I think we just realized we're exceptional at that, and hiring, like, we just crush it. And then when you look at other agencies that like supposedly do good outsourced work, like if you're trying to hire in the Philippines, maybe you go through like Shepherd or something for administrative assistant. But like you try and hire a video editor with them, they're gonna give you the shittiest person. Like we tried to hire a writer, it was like they're all terrible. Even like they fucked up the job post for it. It's like there's just so like we could crush all these people. We just don't have the time to do it. That's why I'm like, we're all gonna be filthy rich when Jack comes in and can like take what we're doing and turn it into a real business.
Yeah. We need, because I'm mid cloud, dude. We need somebody.
Yeah.
This is
Oh,
the
that's the worst
beauty.
spot, dude. Watch out. You
A
can't see
lot of
nothing in the cloud.
turbulence, dude. A lot of turbulence.
We saw it firsthand.
So what we're trying to model, I don't even know if we said Jack was my brother. Dude, we made a podcast like 2 years ago. We were trying to hire him at the beginning. But here's the thing is, so Nico operates the company day to day today. We're trying to replicate this kind of this relationship that you and I had, which was like, you're above the clouds, I operate day to day. Right now, Nico is below the clouds, operating day to day. He needs that partner who's above the clouds, because he can't ever zoom out and like point the ship in the right direction. So I'm like, if we can just put my brother in that place, and then we are literally just always above the clouds,
right?
Everyone will be better off. Because right now, this was another Ali Abdaal. Like he said, he spends most of his time above the clouds doing bottleneck analyses. And I was like, it's so good. It's just like, where is the bottleneck? Let me hire for or solve that problem.
Right.
And over and over and over again, I'm like, we are the bottleneck because we're busy creating or making content or writing.
Well, that's why I know the real bottleneck. Oh, Ollie talked about this too. Oh, threads on threads. Hey, we're gonna end this soon. Don't worry. Ollie talks about like basically Fuck. So our bottleneck right now is writing. Like, I haven't been writing anything like shorts or emails. Like you're barely doing it because you've just been traveling and stuff. Like that is a huge bottleneck, and like that would free up literally like
Half a
80% of our
week.
week. It's
Yeah.
it's spent so much time is spent on that. But it's really hard to hire a writer. And Ali said this where he in COVID, like his online course sold a shitload, so they had all this money, and he's basically like, oh, if I'm shooting videos, what if I could just hire a writer or 4 writers and I could get 4 times as many videos? But he ends up hiring writers and then he gets half as many videos. Why? Because no one writes in his voice, and he never like did a video off of a script. It'd always just be bullet points. But it just like turned into this mess of now you're having to like teach someone who's bad at it, and it's like just a complete headache, which is what we had when we tried to hire a writer. But like I don't know. If we could figure out that bottleneck, everything would be so much easier, but it's clearly a hard one.
Dude, it's the hardest. I think it's really hard because I think we could. It's really hard because we're still iterating so much.
Hmm.
It's not. It's not that formulaic. Like
I feel like it is, though. We've done a year of shorts.
I know, and we're even still now just like really getting into doing more scene-based shorts over factual shorts. It's like it's that funny thing where the longer you wait to hire someone, the harder it gets.
Well, so that's my worry with Jack, because I'm like, we like to do anti-goals like before Jack joins. Hey, how is this going to fail? And we all kind of talk about it. And I think there's a lot of stuff we can still bring up. But one of my concerns is like, we've been talking the same thing for basically since we graduated college, like 5 years of just talking the same thing, especially the last 3 when we've been working together. It's like every day we're just Paul Graham, Naval, Tim Ferriss, like just recycling these ideas. And so Jack's now going to be like coming into this where we have sort of these principles that we work by. He might not be aware of, but
I think I had that same sentiment, especially when we decided to bring up an animator to a COO role. And I think we kind of proved that wrong. Basically, what happened is for like a month or so, I was just like, he and I were in very close communication. It was just like every day, like, here are the 5 bullet points. This is what I think about this. This is what you did, but this is how I would have made that decision. Here's what Naval like basically all that stuff, really high touch. And then good people just get it. Like he just started to pick up all those things.
Yeah. I think there might be a point where in the email, I think all our good stuff is going to come from the email, because it's a lot harder to promote or like do anything with YouTube Shorts. But in the email, if we're like, hey, do you want to work with us? Just send us an email like this, like the email that you're already reading, or like forward this to a friend and have them write something like this. Then I feel like everything can be kind of distilled down to this creative hiring. Like back in our like super jazz day a year and a half ago, when we're like, oh, we're gonna be everything hiring because we cracked the code on hiring, which I still think we did. Like the more we circle back to it, we really just give a bunch of tests of exactly what you're gonna be doing, and then we just have good taste so we can tell whether it's good or not. So I think we would just do the same with the writer, but like 10,000 people.
I don't,
isn't
yeah.
big enough
One
to
thing
do
I
that.
want to make clear, because I short circuited earlier, every time we get into looking at a potential hire and getting into the pros and cons and the weeds of their work, and ooh, like I like this thing, but I kind of don't like this thing they did. Like anytime you get in that midwit,
Right.
it does not work
Right.
every single time.
Well, that's where I just like hiring. I want to just like day one, someone is just better than us.
Right.
Like I shouldn't be teaching you how to write. You teach me. It's like always hire better than you. Right now we have an illustrator coming in. They could potentially be better than our current illustrator.
And
Teach
the
her.
one writer we hired, it was constantly just like, oh, I really like this, but this thing they did doesn't feel quite right. And then it was like, oh no, here's a really good hook. Oh, but they flubbed the rest of this story. It was just like always this pros and cons middle ground.
Yeah.
It's like, no, that like our best illustrator, Louisa, every time she delivers something, it breaks your brain for what you thought was possible.
Yeah.
That's what you need to hire.
The good thing
we gotta
about
find
hiring
that for a writer.
a writer, at least for the email, is it doesn't have to be 100% in our voice. Like our shorts do, because we're going to be saying them, so it's like a little bit incongruent if it's not entirely ours.
You
But
think
the
it'd be
email is going to be easier to outsource, I think.
so you'd hire for the email writing first? Because I
And then
thought
we
shorts
use
was easier
the email to
because
craft our shorts.
we're still inventing the newsletter.
Yeah, I think we just there are fewer variables. Because you got to mix like the writing with the presentation, but the presentation is just the email. So yeah,
That's interesting.
Hey, dude.
I also prefer shorts. Like every time I sit down to write a newsletter, I'm like, dude, they're kind of hard. They're really kind of hard to write.
Yeah.
Am I stalling because I like the podcast? Yeah. Hey, let me hit you with the thread, dude. So,
this is the first time where we've gone over time and you're not bugging me, dude.
Dude,
we're ripping. Threads.
We're ripping. So for like the last month, wait, why did I do this? I've just been working in my studio and I wanted a desktop setup with 2 monitors. So I sold my laptop. I was like, the only reason I would keep my laptop is because I need it to do work while traveling. And then I was like, well, if I need to do work while I'm traveling, then something else is failing and I should just fix, right? Like basically nobody should need me while I'm away. So I sold my laptop. And so I've been laptopless now for a month. This is a good thread, but I've been laptopless for a month and I'm crawling out of my skin, dude.
Oh, really?
I think I need to buy a new laptop because I like fiddling. I like surfing the web. I like doing all kinds of little things on my computer. Yeah. And I introduce so much friction between like me and going on the internet that now like my life kind of sucks. So
interesting.
Yeah, my thought was, well, I can just do everything I did on my computer like on my iPad, but it's like everything kind of sucks on the iPad. Right. Typing, searching the web, little emails, little errands and stuff. So
well,
it was an interesting experiment. Dude. It was an interesting experiment.
There's this, I think it's Everyday Astronaut. I forget. I think that's the YouTube channel. But they had an interview with Elon Musk, and it was cool because he's just like walking around SpaceX for an hour. And I think they had a whole series on this, and they do it like they've had a couple of them over the years. And in one of them, Elon Musk is going through like his principles for engineering or design. And one of the principles is, hey, if you're not adding something back in 10% of the time, you're not removing enough. So what does that mean? It's like, okay, now you, Henry, you want to add back in your laptop. Well, if you're not doing that with just everyday things in your life where you're not like, oh, I should rebuy that because I really like it, you're not deleting. You're not eliminating things from your life enough, which I really like because there's so much shit like this.
Right, so now I know I'm like, I need a MacBook Air, minimum specs. Like I don't need to do any heavy lifting on it, but I need to add back in that machine that allowed me to like fiddle on the internet.
Right.
Because like we'll be trying to do something and I'm like, I can't get Athena's laptop. Sorry, dude. Like can't go on Figma. Sorry. And it's like, that was like a stupid thing. Like I went hardcore, eliminated it completely. And I'm like, no, I need to add it back in.
But I love that. I love that process. Like right now, we basically told Nico to sell out our entire team. Like, oh wait, Nico, stop at these people. We want to keep these people. And like we find where's the epicenter because like we're trying to add them back in, or like we oversold someone.
Right.
Like, oh, can we actually keep them? So that's the way to get to the real essence, and it applies to everything, like clothes in your closet or I don't know, relationships.
Eliminate.
Hey, dude, I still got 1,000 more threads, but we're 45 minutes in, so we gotta just cut it short, dude.
Cliffhanger. Gotta